Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Analytical Amateurs, the show where a bunch of unprofessionals pretend to be professional. I'm Alcatabra. We're here with Galactic Blame and Triple M. Say hello, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
And today we are talking about the Snyder Cut of Justice League, aka Zack Snyder's Justice League. Yeah, and in case you guys aren't aware, Triple M has been
beating
really,
a dead horse.
Yeah, Triple M has been really looking forward to this one, so this should be a special episode.
I love it. I love it.
So before we get started, I guess we'll just do some basic updates on life and stuff. First of all, we all graduated. Woohoo! Yay! We're all adults now. Woo! Yay!
Finally!
Woo-hoo, yeah. So that's fun. Hopefully this series can keep going on during our college years. I mean, we're all probably going to drop out because of student loans anyways. But anyways,
You know it.
Point being,
Make that money,
other
baby.
than that, I told myself we were going to have positive podcasts from now on, but here we are talking about the Snyder Cut, and I know Triple M's going to have some words, so that should be
I'm not
fun.
gonna be positive. You can't make me. You can't make me be
I
positive.
know. But
Like we were expecting anything else.
other than that, let me clarify. We are switching up the formula for this specific podcast because the order is usually that we review a relevant movie, then we discuss a facet of filmmaking related to that movie, then we wrap up with some like general speculation. But this time we're gonna start with reviewing movies, then we're gonna move on to speculating, and then we're gonna wrap up with the filmmaking discussion. So first of all, before we officially get started, a little disclaimer. I know some of us have some opinions, and by some of us I mean Triple M. So we're gonna have to remember to all be civil. Remember what we always say: it's just a movie. We hold nothing against Zack Snyder, Warner Brothers, anyone involved in this. They are all people. We have nothing against them as people. We're still gonna critique them because art is art, but we're gonna be as civil as possible, right, Triple M?
Okay.
Right, Triple M?
Okay.
Let's do this. So now we're gonna start with a general breakdown of who Zack Snyder is. So I mean, in case you guys aren't aware, Zack Snyder is the guy who kind of kickstarted the Worlds of DC, or as it's better known, the DCEU. Yeah, fun fact, apparently that's not its official name. I never knew that, but yeah. Point being, he kickstarted all of this with a movie known as Man of Steel, which was followed up by Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, then some other stuff, and then finally Justice League. So just to recap on where he came from with all this, we're going to start with a quick little summary and exploration of Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. So, Man of Steel. I don't actually hate this movie. I think it's fine. It's not perfect, but it's fine. That's
I don't hate it either.
It's kind of a meh for me. I'm not really particularly passionate about either side of the argument.
Yeah.
It's not the best. I mean, Superman's one of my favorite comic book superheroes. I think everyone loves Superman.
Obviously.
And I appreciate Mr. Snyder. Okay, so Zack Snyder had just come directing the red hot, Watchmen, and is probably his best movie in my opinion. I love it. I love Watchmen. And I think perhaps, and this is a theme throughout his DCEU run, I think perhaps with Snyder, he assumed that since, he did so well with Watchmen, and it was so dark and gritty, and maybe he could, transfer that over to the DC universe and somehow try to ground it in realism, like Watchmen was. So I think he tried to bring an element of, realism to Superman.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest complaints about Henry Cavill's Superman is how he never smiles. Or he doesn't smile much.
Yeah.
And he's just... Well, we can get into all that in Batman vs. Superman, because it's not that as big a deal in Man of Steel.
Yeah, all things considered, even Man of Steel, I really like. It's the same. I'm in the same boat of Man of Steel as I am with Wonder Woman. I think the movie's going really good, then it just crashes at the finale, and that makes it kind of frustrating for me.
So its third act is so messy.
This third act
it just turns into straight disaster porn.
Why is it always the third act?
I don't know. Like, you guys are on such a good record, and I'm just like, I'm going along with this, and then push, it's just gone. Literally, all of my hype is just gone.
Maybe it's just like everyone's like, hey, we're going a little too philosophical for everything, and everything's getting too serious, but we need a mandated fight scene, so gotta shove that in somewhere.
If they want a fight scene, I'll give them a fight scene.
You don't need to have that to have an interesting superhero movie.
It's like you went from he goes from a superhero movie to a Godzilla movie. He just straight up just blows up an entire city.
Literally, the whole movie was just like going. It's a very slow pace with just like Superman's learned about Earth, Lois is kind of learned about him, and then suddenly, boom, aliens. Zod's just here. Zod's gonna destroy the world, and now we got to deal with that just out of nowhere. And I just felt like, seriously? But even with that, I would say that the movie like mainly kind of misses the mark with what it wants to be. Like, because now Superman nowadays is obviously established as an alien from Krypton, with this whole mythological like background to it. And I feel like this movie didn't really explore that enough. Like, Krypton felt like I was watching Avatar when we were on like Krypton or something. It's this big like magic dragon world with penis-shaped rocket ships and
I was going to talk about the penises. I was going to talk about the dicks.
Everyone, you got to talk about it.
Zack Snyder stated that he intentionally designed them like that, or they were intentionally designed like that. I'm like, what?
Are you kidding me?
My kids are going to see this movie. 10 minutes in, you got penis rockets.
I didn't know he did that on purpose. I thought it was like...
I have read that it was intentionally designed like that. And 10 minutes into the movie, you were going to watch Zod and his folk get frozen in penis rockets and sent to Earth.
Guys, but you know what it is? It's a metaphor,
It's a metaphor for Zack Snyder always sucking his own dick when he makes movies, man.
Oh my gosh.
That's perfect. I don't know. Okay, so there's a lot of good things Man of Steel is going for. It has a fantastic score. Like, Hans Zimmer's score is beautiful.
Hans Zimmer is just...
I'm a huge fan of Henry Cavill. He's a great actor. I don't think he's given enough to do in most of the stuff he's in, which makes me sad because I just want the best for him. I love him. But he does a pretty good job in this movie. I like the costume design. But I think my biggest issue with Man of Steel, besides its really gray, dark tone, or its dull tone, and how not fun it is to watch, is just the Jesus imagery is so much, man.
Yeah, this movie has a lot of parallels, trying to make like Superman like a god figure, and that's kind of where they went with like the realism, which I don't really like that because it just feels like you kind of miss the mark. You want Superman to be this down-to-earth guy, and you're literally like making him out to be a Jesus figure, and it just feels like wrong.
Do you get it?
Yeah, that's the weirdest part, is that everyone is like, yeah, I mean, he's got all these powers and everything. It's like, yeah, but he was raised on a farm as like a normal dude, but like you don't really get that. It's just like, yeah, I have these powers, and I kind of think I'm a little better than people for it. It's like, what? That's what?
I'm all for that. I'm all for exploring that. It's just like I was watching. I did a marathon of all Zack Snyder's movies to get here, and I was watching Man of Steel, and there's this one scene where he's sitting in a church, and clearly, like right behind him is the fucking mosaic of Jesus, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's a bit heavy-handed, but that's probably the worst.
Oh my gosh! Now what I'm thinking of is like the Daredevil movie.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Oh no!
The Jesus symbolism in that one. Oh my god!
But like, I'm looking at that shot with Jesus in the background. I'm like, that's probably the worst it'll get, right?
No.
That's
the worst of him is when he T-poses in space.
That's what I'm saying. He does the Jesus T-pose as he's flying away. He pauses. The world is in danger, and he takes a pause so he can be like, hey, Lois, check this out.
Like your girlfriend's about to die, and you decide to T-pose for your hologram of your space
gonna
dad.
flex on her.
I'm Superman. I'm Jesus. Did you know that I'm Jesus? Zack Snyder, I'm Jesus. Look, I'm Jesus. Oh my god.
Yeah, but one thing I want to touch on, obviously, with the final act, like I've seen a lot of controversy for this, and I've been kind of like split down the middle with it. Like, a lot of people have different problems with it. My problem with it isn't necessarily the idea of like the city getting destroyed. It's more of just like the movie isn't sure how to approach that, because like Superman doesn't seem to care, and we don't get any repercussions for like the destruction of Metropolis until 3 years later. Like until 3 years later when Batman v Superman comes out, and I'm just like,
we're
that
not
should
even.
be explored.
I don't even.
Even then,
talk
it's only
about
really,
Batman's
it's
fucking-
only really like
it's barely
Wayne
addressed.
hey, this is not cool, and
Yeah. So that's why a lot of people
and it
brought
really
up,
addresses it even in the later movie.
And like, so the thing is, I think one simple scene would have like fixed all of this, and that's to have Superman like have it so, because we see in Batman v Superman there's like a monument for all the people lost in the Battle of Metropolis. So have like a scene where that monument is built in Man of Steel. Have Superman like go to those different people's houses who were like affected by it. Like he can like go down and talk to them, and it's like you'll have this whole scene where this Jesus like figure is talking to these normal people and being like, I'm sorry, and so that grounds them down to more on Earth, and like that would just solve the whole like aspect of A, he doesn't care, and B, it makes him look more like one of the people. But no, instead
they gotta set it up for that Senate scene.
Exactly.
They gotta set it up so that he can be in court. Because what do I want to see when I go watch a comic book movie? I want to see the trial of Superman.
Yeah,
obviously. I don't care about any of that Crisis on Infinite bullshit. I want to watch Superman in court. Damn it.
Well, last thing I want to really touch on this movie is just I mean, I guess it did a good job. It did a good job with exploring his like past. I think the flashbacks, like the way they split up flashbacks, I don't really like when movies do that, where they have like the flashbacks to their childhood spliced in very specific moments through like the when something happens in their adulthood, and I'm just like, this feels like you're kind of taking away from the plot. I don't know if that's a nitpick. That's just how I don't like when movies do that. But last thing is my favorite line in this movie: Dick Splash. A kid refers to Superman as Dick Splash to insult him, and it is the funniest shit ever. Like
I don't know.
He burst out laughing. I was like, "What is a Dick Splash?" But yeah, that was
good.
Funny.
I like Dick Splash. I'm a huge fan of Dick Splash, but personally, my favorite is in Shazam, Ass Clown. I'm more of an Ass Clown kind of guy.
Oh gosh.
It's either Ass Clown or Ass Bag, but they're both great.
Well, DCU has its problems, but it has some of the best insults. I'm just saying.
Oh hell yeah!
Some of the best insults in any movie. But,
Birds of Prey is fucking full of them.
Yeah. So, anything else?
So should we?
Anything else?
I got none.
Okay, so Batman v Superman.
Yes.
To address, have you both seen the Ultimate Edition of this movie or extended edition?
Yeah, and
I haven't.
Okay.
I've only watched it one time.
I'm so tired of people saying shit like this is where it all started. This is where this idea people have, where it's like, if you give a movie a director's cut, it will make it good.
Yeah, this is where it all started, bro. This is where it all.
I've seen the director's cut and I've seen the original, and I gotta tell you, I don't appreciate those extra 15 minutes of film. What do they add? They don't add shit.
They add Ben Affleck's ass.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. That makes the movie 10 times better.
Everyone.
If I wanted to see Ben Affleck's ass, I'd watch Gone Girl. Pretty sure his penis is in that too.
Gosh, don't remind me.
This is my least favorite DCEU movie. It is such a clusterfuck. It is such a mess. Even the title is such a mess because it wants to be it wants to be a Batman versus Superman movie, but it also wants to be a Dawn of Justice movie.
Yeah, it wants to be a Justice League prologue, and I'm just like,
because the last 30 minutes
too much
are the
crap
Dawn of Justice, and it's too much. It's too much. The first hour of the movie is unforgivably boring. It is so bad. And then the last hour and a half is like, what? What the fuck? Oh my god! Oh, he's dead.
Yeah. So there's three main core problems I see rooted around this movie. One, the characters. Two, the pacing, and three, the I guess not fan service, but build up, the hype. I don't really like when movies have to hype me up for the next one. Like, the movie should stand up on its own, and I'll worry about the next one when we get there. Like, it's the same thing with what is that movie? Age of Ultron and the Avengers. Like how they had to hype up Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, and all that stuff. And as much as I love those,
a whole subplot in Age of Ultron. It's like, hey, check this out. He's in a pool now.
Yeah,
What?
like you guys get hyped for Ragnarok.
that
I'm
was-
just like, what is going on? I thought we were fighting a robot.
I'm not a huge fan of Age of Ultron, but that's another thing.
Yeah.
That's a whole other story.
So with BVS, like the pacing is like we said, it's too much. Mainly for me, it's the characters, like really more than anything. So there's this whole debate on how Batman and Superman act. So Superman, we've already established, he feels a bit like distant from humanity, like he acts like he's above them when he's not supposed to. And then Batman, obviously, a lot of people are upset that Batman is killing people. And the thing is, I get where the movie is coming from. Like, as everyone's pointed out, this Batman is based on, what is that comic?
Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, Dark Knight Returns. Everyone points
But
out
even- okay.
that he's based on that, but it's too soon. Like, that's my problem. That's my problem. Don't worry, we'll release the beast soon.
Let me talk about that. Because I've got a. I am an avid reader of comic books, and it seems like, no offense to anyone else, it seems like I'm the only fucking person who still reads comic books. Because why read a book when I can go watch the movie, right? Because that's all it is nowadays. So I have read The Dark Knight Returns. Batman doesn't even kill. He's not like an ultra violent. He doesn't kill. So Zack Snyder missed the mark on that one. It's called The Dark Knight Returns, not The Dark Knight Returns from killing. He literally retires. He retires.
Like, I feel like the only comic books anyone ever reads when they're adapting anything for Batman, if they're not already an avid, is The Dark Knight Returns and The Killing Joke. That's it.
And don't forget about that one that most filmmakers like to read, All-Star Batman and Robin.
Oh, yeah.
The one where Batman calls Dick Grayson a retard. Written by, might I remind you, the same motherfucker that wrote Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. Frank Miller can't write. Anyway.
Oh, God.
Because he also wrote Superman Year One, and it's one of the worst things I've ever read. Anyway. I have such a... There's so many problems with Batman in this movie. Because Superman acts like Batman, and Batman acts like the Punisher.
Oh my God. That's basically like the best way to put it. Superman is Batman, Batman's the Punisher.
We got Zack Snyder coming into this with a 19-year-old Batman. We missed out on 19 years of Batman storytelling. You mean to tell me that when Superman was getting started, nobody was like, oh, so we got another superhero. It's
exactly.
like the Bat
No one
guy
brought
over
up
in
Batman. Like, no one brought up Batman.
You mean to tell me that 19 years into his career, they're still calling him a myth? 19 years?
19 years.
What?
Like, it feels so inconsistent. Like, when I first saw the movie, I thought Batman, like, started out in response to Superman's attack. So I was like, why is he killing people and stuff? And then everyone online's like, oh, if you read the comic books, you know that Jason Todd died. And I was just like, wait, Jason Todd's dead? What are you talking about?
Books.
Like, they don't explain any of this stuff in the movie.
They never set that up.
Exactly. I was just like, he's dead?
That's
like, it's look it up. I was like, if you have to look it up,
it's like the Rise of
doing something
Skywalker.
fundamentally wrong with filmmaking.
I'm not logging into Fortnite to figure out that Jason Todd is dead.
Yeah, it's just like that. Like, you shouldn't have to do this whole expanded, like, search for knowledge. Like, oh my gosh, I hate... If you mentioned The Rise of Skywalker, it reminds me of, The Force Awakens Rey's, like, vision scene. Reminds me just of Batman's dream sequence. Like, when I saw that, I thought I was tripping. I thought I was tripping on something, man. I was like, what is going on?
This is now the second fucking movie that Ezra Miller has been in the DCEU, and he's done nothing! He's just there! He's just fucking there! He's like, Lois is the key!
I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like, literally any normal person off the street will not know what is going on. They're just like, what is that giant symbol on the floor? Why are there giant robot mosquito people? Why is Superman
That was
evil?
stupid too!
Like...
Okay, what? Is Batman a prophet? Does he have dream powers?
What is
also,
going on?
The Flash
Oh my God,
it's
symbolism. It's Jesus symbolism for too.
Oh my God.
Everyone gets vision.
People's dreams. I don't understand.
Exactly.
People try to make this movie out. I once saw someone compare. They said that Batman versus Superman was the perfect combination of two comic book stories into one. And I'm like, okay, fuck you. What stories are you talking about? Because what are you talking about? Superman, Doomsday, and Dark Knight Returns? Because I gotta tell you, it does neither of them right. Have you read a comic book before in your life? Have you read either of those comic books? Because they're very famous. This movie has it's got so much going on that I can't even figure out how to properly talk about it right now.
Exactly.
I have all over the place.
I'm literally looking at a page.
Can't even give a synopsis. There's
exactly.
Piled into everything.
And I made a YouTube video about this. I was so pissed off. I did a YouTube video about how the worst part of the movie is the actual thing is marketed off of. The Batman versus Superman fight is so bad.
It's not even good.
Like this is what I want to go off on. Like the fight. Like, okay, let's start like the groundwork. So first of all, Batman wants to fight.
We gotta get to Martha.
Yeah, like I get why. Like they have the big part like problem with this movie is that you have to find a reasonable way for them to fight. So if Batman makes sense. Batman thinks Superman's a threat. He gets kryptonite. Sure. Superman, Golden Boy Superman. They have no way to make Superman fight him, right? So they have him they have his mother get captured. He has to fight Batman, or he won't be able to save her. So first of all, everyone's already like pointing out like, why doesn't Superman just use his super senses to find her instead of fighting Batman? And apparently there's some like deleted scene where Superman tries to do that, but he's so overwhelmed by city like sounds in the city and stuff, which like that doesn't really make sense to me.
Okay, Daredevil, fucking what?
Now we're talking about Daredevil again.
In this universe, I could literally throw a rock from Metropolis and hit someone in Gotham.
Exactly. But ignoring that, like that's already dumb enough. But ignoring that, when Superman gets to Batman, I was like, "There's no way Superman's just gonna fight Batman. He's gonna explain himself, right?" Which he does. He starts explaining. He's trying to explain that his mother's been captured, Lex is manipulating them. But then, like, Superman falls into some trap that Batman said. And then he immediately breaks out.
And then Batman says, I understand.
And then he pushes him. And I'm just like, why are you pushing him? Just explain the situation.
I outlined the entire thing in the video. It's like the first 8 minutes of the video are dedicated to how badly it's set up.
Like,
because the entire movie is built around this fucking stupid fight scene that didn't need to happen.
Exactly. Like,
if you want to see a Batman versus Superman fight scene, go read Batman Hush. Go read The Dark Knight Returns. Go watch The Dark Knight Returns. Go watch Batman movies. Hush.
Yeah. Fuck. Like this feels like so solely for the spectacle as opposed to the story. Like they had to have them fight and they didn't know how to do it. Like Captain America's Civil War knew how to do it, for example. Which obviously everyone compares it to. Yeah. They set it up well.
They had actual motivation.
Well, this is the thing, and I hate comparing everything to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
So do I, honestly.
Because I'm of the mindset that, like, if you want to take some creative liberties with your DC Cinematic Universe, go right the fuck ahead. If you want to skip right to the Justice League movie, go ahead. But you gotta do it right. You can't cut corners. Set it up. You cannot do it. Like, I'm not of the mindset that every single Justice Leaguer needed a movie beforehand, and then they would have done it. Because, like, that's just straight up MCU. They're allowed to go their route.
Like,
but it was done. It was done so poorly.
Yeah.
I can't with this movie, man. I can't with this movie.
Like, there's just so many moving parts, and we'd be here forever discussing it. Like, is there anything else we should like touch on before we like move on?
How about we touch on one of the worst comic book movie villains to ever exist?
Lex Eisenberg?
The Riddler.
No, that's pretty much what he is.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's like, he's just like, riddle me this. If man won't kill God, who will do it? Shut the fuck up!
Who cast you as what? Do you even know what you're playing?
Exactly.
Like, there are people who's like, actually, Jesse Eisenberg is only playing Lex Luthor Jr. His father is Lex Luthor Sr.
Like,
I'm like, oh, really?
About?
Where's the deleted scene?
Who cares?
Like, everyone's explaining he's based off some, like, offshoot comic book where Lex was, like, super, like, schizophrenic and stuff. And I'm like, okay, he's still a bad portrayal, though.
Nope.
Like, it doesn't matter what it's based on.
Like I said, I like to do my research, so I actually bought that comic book. I bought Superman Birthright.
Yeah, that
one. And you want to know the only similarity between that Lex and Superman Birthright? He's got red hair.
Exactly, that's it. Oh my goodness.
Because these Snyder fans will bend over backwards to try and raise Snyder up as the best comic book director ever because we're just too stupid to get it, guys.
Exactly.
We're just idiots.
Insert people
we're not
don't
educated enough.
But like with Lex Luthor, obviously everyone's pointing out like his personality, not a big fan of it. Ignoring that, his plan,
Jolly Rancher,
Jolly Rancher, sexual Jolly Rancher scene. Oh goodness.
His plan is so ridiculous, much like the villain from Captain America: Civil War. I hate to compare, like the villain from Captain America: Civil War. It falls apart if the superheroes just stop and wait a minute. This is fucking dumb.
Like it's based on emotion. And even then, like Zemo at least had a drive. That's why I'm more leaning on Zemo as compared to Lex, because like Lex's drive seems to be like Lex's drive is literally that his dad abused him when he was a kid, and he was upset that no God,
he wants to see it for kicks.
Down. Yeah, he no God swooped down to save him from Daddy's fist of abomination, as he explained.
Wait, was that his goal? Because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't fucking get that.
Like apparently, like,
it wasn't really.
Did you get that from some other Reddit forum or something?
No, that was in one line in the movie.
Literally, all the lore from this comes from. But they said that in an interview.
Exactly.
I don't care. It's not in the film, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like all these people. Whenever you critique the infamous Martha scene, you'll have people like, actually, if you had bothered to read this interview with Zack Snyder, then you would know. I'm not gonna fucking read an interview to get the movie.
If you have to explain it outside context of the story, then it doesn't work. Clearly, you're doing something wrong. It's just if your intention is not coming through in the final product, then that's your fault.
And with like Lex's plan, it's like I said, it seems to be driven by he's upset that his dad abused him, and also he has like one line where he explains he wants to prove a theory, like if God is all powerful, then he's not all good, and if he's all good, then he's not all powerful.
Fuck you. I'm not even literally it. But fuck you, because that's a bad line.
Exactly. I was like, okay, fam, like this seems really extreme for all that.
Seems like you need to go to church. Like I think his vendetta is really he didn't go to church enough. And maybe he just needs to go ask a priest.
Like other than that,
confess your sin.
He's just there to watch them fight. Then they stop fighting, and then of course we need the studio mandated final battle. Enter Hulk's incest cousin, Doomsday.
Oh God! The stupidest design.
Why?
The stupidest design.
Fucking inbred Ninja Turtle.
That's what he looks like.
Somehow it's like
you summed it up.
My goodness.
It's part Luthor and then it's part Zod, and I'm like, what is this?
And apparently he assumes that like because it has his blood, it'll just listen to him, which just seems like a really big risk, fam.
Yeah, I keep doing this, and I hate to do it. I hate to bash on Snyder fans, but like people on the internet who defend this movie, they're always like, well, it's not a bad design because if you look, you can clearly see Zod's face buried in the CGI of Doomsday. I'm like, that's cool. Cool little detail. Don't make it good, but cool, I guess so.
Exactly.
Easter egg, I guess.
Like, some people, like, there's all this conspiracy stuff, like, people are like, actually, it might not be the real Doomsday. Instead, the real Doomsday's with Darkseid. I'm just like, no, the movie never said
Who cares?
Like, it doesn't matter.
Shut the fuck up.
It doesn't matter.
That's so dumb.
Well, to wrap it all up,
dumb movie.
The Justice League is, like, obviously the Dawn of Justice part of this movie clashes with it way too much. I didn't realize who Wonder Woman was in the first half of the film, even though I knew that Gal Gadot was playing her.
I was getting like Selena Kyle vibes.
I was just like, is
this supposed to be like?
I was like, is that like Catwoman or something? And I was like, oh, Wonder Woman. Why is she in this film? What is she doing here? And then they show the other Justice League members, because apparently Lex Luthor knows all of their identities and then never brings it up. But yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Justice League.
Yeah. No, it'll be brought up in Justice League 2!
Oh, obviously. Other than that, Superman dies. Insert comment about how Wonder Woman should have used the spear instead. Or Batman.
Oh, okay. I gotta...
Anyway.
I gotta talk about this because this is like it's not my biggest gripe. It's everything sucks. Like one of the worst parts of the movie is like throughout the entire movie, Batman's like, I let the Joker kill Jason Todd, and I'm depressed, and I hate humanity. Fuck humanity. I don't know. Fuck you. And then you get to the end of the movie, and he's just like, man, that guy I've spent the entire movie trying to kill. Guess he wasn't that bad. All right, movie's over.
we should form. He's just like, wow, I feel bad for this guy I tried to kill. He was all about justice. Now we need a league to avenge him. And then Wonder Woman says, "What are we? Some kind of Justice League?" And then the movie ends. The movie ends.
Right, it's just like, damn. Superman was all about bringing the world hope and lifting people up to see the better parts of themselves. Was that in this movie? No. Go watch the director's cut.
Like, he mostly, like, all we get is, like, a montage of him, like, floating down to help people, but that's another thing. Like, goodness.
But Zack Snyder said in an interview...
Zack Snyder said that this ain't your mama's comic. This is mature.
Batman's edgy. He kills people.
He brands them. Oh, my God. Hey guys, don't worry. Batman doesn't kill anymore. He went back to breaking bones and branding people.
It's just Arkham, except everybody dies.
Yeah.
Okay. We got to move on, or else we're gonna talk about this.
We'll be here for a while.
Long story short, let's move on.
So just to wrap it up, to say some nice things, this movie should have come out much later. That's my opinion. Then it would have probably been a lot better received. Like, establish Batman in the DCEU. Have at the end of phase 1 or something, he loses Jason Todd. Then by phase 3, he's all edgy and grumpy, and then he clashes with Superman or something. Then that will feel a lot more earned, probably. But other than that, one little detail I liked. I don't know if this was in the theatrical edition as well, but there was a little political cartoon on a table in the film where like Superman sees it, and it shows like this like policeman who has like a baseball bat with the Bat brand on it, and he's about to hit a criminal. And he's like, batter up, because like Batman brands criminals. And I was like, okay, that's kind of clever. That's a political cartoon that would exist in this universe. That's semi-interested in world building. The rest of the movie is a cluster, though.
Especially what we got going on right now. I mean,
yeah. And so we're not discussing Suicide Squad or Wonder Woman because those movies weren't made by Zack Snyder.
Thank
directly.
fucking Christ.
So we'll get back to Suicide Pact
well, they did have
Wonder Woman another day.
Oh, yeah, no, they let him talk. They brought Zack Snyder on and said, how do you think we could make this worse? And he was like, ooh.
How should we end Wonder Act? Do the same
thing Man of Steel did.
Make it a big superhero CGI fight. Lots of lightning.
And now we are on to Justice League, the theatrical cut by Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder, kind of. Yeah.
I have a lot of trouble watching. Okay, I love the theatrical cut. It is so funny. It's honestly. So bad. It's so funny.
Like, I'm gonna be honest. This movie was very confusing for me because I tried to justify in my head when I first watched it. I was like, it's not bad, so it's not like the worst thing ever.
I definitely Phantom Menaced it. I definitely left the theater going, like, damn, that was good.
And I was like, that was okay. And then a week later, I'm like, that wasn't the best. And I'm like, okay, I can't stand this. But like, I don't think it's like the worst superhero movie ever made, as people are like claiming it is. But it's definitely
by far no.
It's definitely not a good one.
Like, it's down there for sure.
Like
it has so much going on.
Yeah, and obviously that's because of like the fact that it's two completely different visions. It's Joss Whedon, a guy who loves happy-go-lucky, like bantery comedic movies, making that out of footage from Zack Snyder, a guy who likes dark, gritty realism. Like, how do you do that? That's like,
and it's hard. It's hard while watching Justice League to figure out whose scene am I watching here. Like how much did Joss Whedon mess up, or not mess up? How much did he tweak?
It's like trying to turn 1917 into a fucking rom-com or something.
Oh like, my god!
You can't have two clashing tones.
Sooner or later, you're gonna have to add a cut in there. You go, like you're gonna have to cut it, and that's not what that movie is. That's not what that is. It's so hard to watch because it's funny as hell. Because right off the bat, you've got literally one of the worst comic book movie scenes ever, where the kids run up to Superman, who looked like he just got put through a blender.
Oh, goodness. So we're going to get to that.
They're like, how many people have you saved that you saved? Hocus car keys.
I'm just like, this scene in, like, theory, like, the idea of showing Superman being, like, with the people and talking to them, sure. It's just, why is it so badly performed? The kids sound annoying as hell. Superman's face really is not helping
that's
the
like
situation.
So bad.
Like, the dialogue in that scene is so confusing, and then we just cut to the whole world sad, which is conflicting.
Oh,
because...
that's the thing! It's like a direct transition
exactly.
to the most depressing song in the universe, playing over a bunch of crime and gray skies.
And I'm just like, all this because Superman's gone? Like, you guys didn't even like him in the last movie that much.
Yeah, you guys wanted to put him on
Didn't
trial.
even like you.
Exactly.
You didn't like anyone.
Nobody stays good in this world. That came out of Superman's mouth.
I like you.
Batman.
Oh my goodness. But, yeah. So, that was conflicting. But then comes, what was the next scene after that? Batman's introduction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, and that brings me into my next point with just the inconsistency with this movie. A lot of people have pointed out, just like we have Superman's mustache incident, we have Batman's beard incident. Like in the opening scene, Batman is clean shaven. He just looks like standard Batman. Then when we next see him talking to Aquaman, he has a full grown beard. And then right after that, we see him shaving it. So either Batman took either like the opening scene is like months later, or Batman can just insta-grow a beard over a jet flight. And that's...
I can do that.
And,
can you not do that?
And we'll learn more about that like later, because when we get into the Snyder Cut speculation. But stuff like that just shows like what happens when you try to mishmash a movie like this. It's not really good. Like, they should have just, in my opinion, they should have delayed Justice League, either waited for Zack Snyder to come back or just start over. But no,
because it just ended up being like a Frankenstein monster type of deal. Wait, can we just like talk about like the poor editors that had to do this? That was
right?
like,
I feel so bad for them.
Two completely different things, and it's like, how am I supposed to do this and make it seem like a concise product?
I feel bad for the actors. Fucking poor Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Having to reshoot half this movie.
Poor Ben Affleck is sitting at home sipping on a mimosa, the DCE universe behind him, and he gets a call and he's like, we need you to come back in. And he's like, for how long?
We got a problem.
How long do you need me to come back in for? Like one or two new scenes? No, we need to remake this whole thing.
This entire movie.
The movie.
And then 2 months later, he checked himself in a rehab, and that's not even a joke. That is real.
Yeah,
that happened.
Then you got stuff like what's J.K. Simmons working out to become a full-on like tank, only to appear
for like 4
seconds.
Poor J.K.
Right.
It was such a good casting too.
I know this man.
J.K. Simmons can play so many roles.
I know. I thought I thought Gordon was gonna have like a full-on fight scene in this movie, because I saw those pictures and I was like, Jesus, this man is jacked. And then he just did it for like 4 seconds.
J.K. Simmons is like the actor that you're like, wow, he's literally in everything, but like you want him to do everything.
Yeah, he's
like
great.
he's
exactly
okay in everything because he's just so good.
And then they barely utilized him.
All these people on Instagram, or I don't want to confine it to one social media site. I'll just say all these hardcore fans are like, I don't understand how J.K. Simmons can play J. Jonah Jameson and Commissioner Gordon. I'm like, I'll tell you what, a paycheck's a paycheck.
Exactly.
When are people going to learn that actors don't give a shit about the universes? They're just like, cool, so I can play Iron Man and make $50 billion.
Yeah.
And then I can go play Batman and I'll make another $50 billion. I don't care about the universe.
You've got all these rumors of people like
and kids these movies. Let me be in them. It's usually what you hear a lot of the times as well.
Because I think Jason Momoa would be a great Lobo.
True.
But he's Aquaman, so whatever.
Yeah.
Man, he looks dead ass like Lobo. But we're gonna.
He does.
That's so weird. I'm surprised they didn't think about that when they were casting him. But yeah. Other parts of this movie are that the characters, like the whole movie, is just underdeveloped. The characters just kind of show up. Like they didn't each need a movie, but they needed some more development. Cyborg, like the only really interesting one was probably Cyborg, but they barely like utilize this whole I might be working for the enemy like subplot. Aquaman is just kind of there, and of course, the Flash.
Okay, I was gonna say something about that, but like, okay, damn it. Nobody needed a Hawkeye solo movie, right?
Yeah.
But they did him well enough in the one movie they introduced him. Oh, not Thor. They did him well enough in the second movie, to the point where like you didn't need a movie. You knew him, and you know he's never had a solo movie. You just know what movie he's in, and you know who he is because they give him enough screen time and they balance it well enough. They write it well enough. This movie does not do that because it introduces way too many new characters right off the bat.
Yeah.
It introduces like the other half of the Justice League right off the bat, and it just doesn't manage their time well. But I said this in our Yugo cut. Thank God Zack Snyder did not get, or Joss Whedon did not get their hands on Hal because he is my favorite DC hero.
Yeah. Green Lantern was reportedly supposed to be in this movie, and we'll get to that later. We'll get back to that. I mean, that's kind of has to do with the whole like unite the Seven advertising they were doing for this film, even though there's only 6 characters.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Remember, unite the Seven, and there's only 6
see,
heroes.
I always thought the 7. I thought Martian Manhunter was one of them because Zack Snyder on that fucking website once again. I think it was like 2 months ago. He's like, "Yeah, you remember that one black character in a military uniform?
Yeah, Chadwick.
That was John Jones.
Yeah, Chadwick, or is his name Chadwick? Yeah, like General Chadwick.
Know what his name was? He's apparently he's John Jones, and I don't buy it.
Neither do I, but we'll see how that goes.
But can we take a minute to talk about the worst character in the movie? Can we take a minute to talk about the Flash?
The Flash. I don't know if it was Whedon or Snyder. I don't know who decided to make him this quiffy, but I don't like it.
Okay. I have my problems with this Flash can be summed up in one of his first lines, where he's like, people, they have this rhythm, this frequency they operate on. I just don't get that. I just don't get people. Like, what is brunch? You stand in line. What is brunch? What is fucking brunch? I remember in the theater, I looked at my friends. I'm like, at a point, is this like what the fuck is brunch? Because when he said, I just don't get people. I'm like, have you ever read a Flash comic book? Like,
he's like
the
most
Flash is
social
everyone's. He is the most social superhero. The Flash is Hal Jordan's best friend. He's Dick Grayson's best friend. He is everyone's best friend. He's a guy that everybody knows and everybody likes him. And in this, he's
like a worse MCU Spider-Man, basically.
He's Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yeah.
It's like Ezra Miller's like, so what character am I playing? And they told him, just do what you did in Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Pretty much.
And it'll be great. I mean, hopefully, no offense to Ezra Miller, but I don't think anybody really likes anything about his Flash.
To be honest.
So after what happened with that one fan in Russia? Did you guys see that?
Oh yeah, the one that he strangled?
Choked her out. I don't know. Choked her out and slammed her onto the ground.
Damn.
She walked up to him and she was like, I bet you I could fight you. And his drunk ass was like, and he threw her on the ground.
I'm going to consider that a teaser trailer for Flash 2. That's the Flash
movie right
great.
There. Flashpoint.
Flash gets drunk and Jeff fights her in the fan. But,
I mean, everything about his Flash, ignoring the writing, is awful. Like, the suit looks really weird. Yeah. The way he runs.
He looks tired as shit.
He looks so dumb. He just goes limp and flops his arms all over the place. I think
is this like a comic thing? Like, I've never seen Flash run like this. Like, I'm so confused.
They're gonna do like this is like Lex Luthor in BVS. He's just Barry Allen Jr.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Barry Allen Sr. He's the comic accurate one. We're just not gonna get him on screen. Fuck you.
Oh goodness.
Barry Allen is my least favorite character in this movie.
Like, I just would have toned down the jokes, make him more relatable. I don't really know what they were going for with him, but it really does contrast with everyone else in the group. He always interrupts with this comedic one-liner that's not funny.
Like, yeah, this
Is this a bad time to bring up my blood sugar?
Yeah,
yes,
like when Aquaman and Cyborg are having this intense scene, and then Flash just makes a stupid joke, or they're literally digging up Clark Kent's corpse, and he decides to fist pump Cyborg, and I'm just like, what are you doing?
That scene. See, there's some things it was Whedon. The grave robbery scene was Whedon,
definitely,
and the blood sugar scene. I feel like what happened was Zack Snyder edited together a scene where Aquaman and Cyborg are arguing, and it's really intense, and everyone in the theater knows it's intense. And then Joss Whedon was watching that, and he's like, "You know, it'd be really fucking funny right now. You know, it'd be really great. I'm gonna intercut a scene of Ezra Miller. Fuck you." I'm gonna put that right in there.
Just why not?
I know.
Of course, there's the villain, which does not help this film at all. Steppenwolf is a very forgettable, basic character.
What are you talking about? He's the best comic book movie villain to ever exist. Get out of the way, Thanos. Here comes Steppen Chad. Like, look at that axe. It's so cool.
Like, he just shows up. He just wants boxes. My favorite scene is where he's at Atlantis. When he first shows up at Atlantis, this one Atlantean guard's looking around, and then he jumps up and just, like, roars at the guy. Just like, wah! And I'm just like, what the fuck?
I, in the theater, me and my friends burst out laughing because no matter how many times you rewind it, it always sounds like he's screaming balls.
I'm just like, what is this? What is this?
What about balls in the DC superhero movie? Like, why is he screaming about balls? I think I made that that was my Instagram profile picture for about 2 months. Is Steppenwolf screaming balls.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, it's the entirety of the movie. You're just waiting on Darkseid to show up.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, where is he? Where is he? He's got to come through. There's no way this guy's the. Oh.
No, it's just him.
Oh
man,
he's dead. Okay, he went back to the. Maybe Darkseid's gonna show up now. Oh, the movie's over.
That's just it. I'm just like, where's
can you imagine? I mean, Guardians 2 is by no means a great movie, but can you imagine if the villain of Guardians 2 was just the gold bitch? Like that's what I equate to.
That would be so boring. Like Ego. That's why we have Ego for some like stakes. Instead, like we have just Steppenwolf, and I'm just like,
God. Balls.
He just shows up. He fights. He doesn't even seem that strong compared to the other heroes. And then he gets beaten up.
Slapped by his own minions.
Yeah, like apparently, like he gets hit, and then he gets super scared. So then his minions like eat him, and that's it.
They smell fear.
They smell fear. And I'm just like, what? Okay, he's gone now. Sure, what a great villain. And we'll get back to Steppenwolf's design when discussing Zack Snyder because I have some words on that. But yeah, he's just there. I didn't even get what the mother boxes were. He just shows up. He's evil. And they fight him. The end. Okay, I guess.
But obviously, the worst thing to come out of the reshoot was the mustache thing.
Of course, the mustache incident.
Of course.
I don't think we need to explain it because everyone definitely knows it by now.
It's just a meme at this point. Yeah, we don't need to explain it.
There's this one scene towards the end of the movie after Superman shows up and does that awful line. That awful line.
You won't let me leave. You won't let me die.
It's that's a bad one. But I hate. I'm a big fan of truth. I'm also a big fan of justice. That'd be like if Batman showed up. He's like, I may be brave, but I'm also. And then that's the line.
Oh goodness!
But there's this
I may be brave, but I'm also bold.
There's this one scene where Batman is talking to Superman, and like in the shot, Batman is talking, but if you watch Superman, his CGI mouth just does a little warp thing, like it expands and contracts. It's disgusting.
Goodness gracious! I don't even know. I don't know what it is. Why do we keep doing realistic CGI like this? Like there's CGI is supposed to make things that aren't real look real. You're not supposed to do real faces. Like Rogue One's Tarkin, this mustache situation. What other examples?
Oh, jeez, don't even talk to me about that. I literally just did a thesis project on it, and I'm still enraged.
Oh, God.
Okay?
It's
don't
also
even.
uncanny.
Well, I know, and I can't remember the actor's name, but I know there's a movie coming up where they're digitally replacing an entire fucking actor who died 20 years ago.
Oh, no.
Dear God.
No, there's a different... No, I don't know if you're talking about the same... That they're making a movie called Finding Jack about the Vietnam War, starring James Dean, who died like 50 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
That's not okay.
How
That's
you gonna
not
cast a dead guy?
okay. That is
How you
not
gonna cast a dead guy?
okay at all.
And they're like, well, we got permission from the family, and I was like, the family is not him. It doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
Like, you're not telling me that there was sort of like Terry stuff involved in that either.
Like, that's the whole...
Like, really?
Like, that's the whole problem with them.
Yeah, that's
the problem with A,
terrifying.
trying to, like, recreate humans through CGI, and B, also ethics. And I'm just like, why didn't he just shave the mustache? Like, was it a contract thing?
That's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna bring up.
It was a contract thing. It was a contract thing.
It was.
That's
like,
weird.
It was the
because
movie he was in.
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that's...
And it... What was the mustache there for?
Exactly.
What was it there for?
Yeah.
You can have a fake mustache, like, for God's sakes. I don't really know.
You can
I don't know.
a fake mustache.
It was literally in his contract. It's like, you can't shave mustache.
That's so dumb.
Production.
Like, I'm
You
guessing...
can CGI a fake mustache.
Yeah, like, I'm
It's a
guessing...
lot cheaper
It's not
than
that
CGI
hard.
the face.
Like, I'm guessing it was
look up how
rivalry.
much.
Yes.
I'm guessing it was rivalry, like, between the studios. Like, they're just like, yeah, like, fuck y'all. Y'all don't get no reshoots. He's keeping the mustache.
How much did Henry Cavill's mustache cost? That should give me some.
That's quite the sentence.
Budget.
Right there.
What's the budget for Henry
Cavill's
Cavill's
mustache.
mustache?
Henry
25
Cavill.
million.
25 million. That's
you're
as much
kidding.
as he's getting. That's as how
Oh,
much.
sorry.
kidding.
I'm sorry. Okay. 3 million.
Okay, never mind.
Still alive.
Still alive. Still alive.
It's way too much money. You could give that to like some struggling indie director or something.
Exactly.
Plastering it on
think
Henry
all have
Cavill's
used-
freaking face.
People have used deepfake to make it look better than $3 million.
Exactly.
Hey,
I was about to say that. I was
those
just
are
like...
amateurs. What the heck?
I've seen some, like, for crying out loud. Why? I mean, I guess it's because they were rushed. People say it's because they were rushed on the production of Justice League. But even so, it is still uncanny. And you could have just shaved. And this just feels like such an unnecessary disaster.
I don't understand why they felt so rushed, though. Because, like, no offense, but nobody was fucking, like, itching for this movie to come out.
Exactly. Like, you
Nobody
could have
was like,
waited
"Oh, I
a
gotta
year.
see it."
You could have,
Maybe
like...
they just really, at that time, wanted to catch up to Marvel. Maybe they wanted to
Yeah.
have their Infinity War before Marvel did.
And that just feels like just unnecessary competition. But we'll get back to that.
I understand why the mouth was like looked kind of terrible in a way because like generally the face is the hardest part to replicate in CG,
Yeah.
like specifically the eyes and the mouth because there's so much crap going on there that you don't even realize it's happening until you see someone do it and you're like, oh, that does not look right. But like you've seen videos of people like taking not that long to correct it, and it's like, okay, you're telling me Hollywood VFX artists couldn't have fixed that? It wasn't even it just needed some more touch-ups and some more rendering. Like, I don't understand.
My favorite shot is at the very, very end when the mid-credit scene where Flash and Superman go for their race. Looking at Superman's face made me burn. That's when I realized it. Because I did not notice the whole lip thing throughout the movie up until that point.
Know.
I was just like, something doesn't look right.
It's so weird how throughout the movie, in the theater, I was like, the only time I really noticed he looked weird was in that first scene. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, that's really
good. Like, I assumed it was just because, like, the camera being, like, an unofficial camera, like a phone or something. I was like, maybe it's just, like, a bad angle. Then at the very end, I'm just like, that does not look normal, like, at all.
Speaking of faux camera, if they wanted to fix that scene, if it made it so bad, couldn't they just done something with, like, the actual camera quality and made it, like, crappier?
Exactly.
Disguised it. It's supposed to be a phone camera, and not like, I don't know, like an Ari Red or something.
That camera looked like it was 4K for a like fucking iPad, and I'm just like, what?
I mean, like they are now, but you know,
we could spend the entirety of the time trashing this movie, bro.
Exactly.
It's so
really,
it's such a shit show. It's literally Frankenstein's monster. This thing is an amalgam of two different, very different visions.
But if I had to say like one nice thing, I say that the movie, I don't know if I should pin this on Whedon or Snyder. I'm willing to say it's probably more of what was left over from Snyder. But the movie does like know how to pace out its seriousness well at times. Mainly surrounding like Batman and Wonder Woman's dynamic, being that they're like the leaders of the group, and how like Batman wants Wonder Woman to take over. Like that was a reasonable arc. And the one like good scene between the two of them is where they start arguing, and then he brings up Steve Trevor, only for it to be ruined by Flash, of course. But ignoring that, it was still a good scene. And I think like the whole dilemma over Superman, while his death needed like more justification, like you can see that at least the heroes are really like skeptical about it. Like I like that they had a actual discussion about reviving him rather than just going and reviving him, because like normally they'd just be like, oh, let's just go get Superman. But they actually brought up like the ethics of, is this right for the world and for him and stuff. They still should have like done better with his character, but at least they tried. But now I think anything else like major discussion wise. Oh, and there's one good scene with Wonder Woman I forgot to mention at the very end. I like how this is just like a little thing. I just like how in that little ending montage we see like Wonder Woman uses her lasso of truth on some like criminals to make them just dump all their info to the police. And I was like, that's clever. That's a clever way to use her powers, I guess. Yeah, I don't know how Clark Kent is supposed to get his life back now, considering that he fucking died. But sure. Like, we'll probably address that in Man of Steel 2. Like, no one's gonna question that Clark Kent came back to life at the exact same time as Superman. Sure. Great.
Yeah,
Great universe.
And this was like, before we move on, I just sent this to our group chat.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Twitter. I keep saying that. I keep opening fucking conversations with, I was on Twitter. I'm one of those guys now. But I was on Twitter, and I found the Zack Snyder design for Steppenwolf compared to the...
I'm looking at it right now,
Wow.
compared to the actual Steppenwolf. And I gotta say, I prefer the Joss Whedon version.
So do I.
You can splice that up on screen if you want.
Yeah,
the Joss Whedon version at least looks like a what? Like a human or something?
Yeah, everyone's saying they like...
That's the from BVS. That stupid fucking scene where they find Lex Luthor covered in goop, and he's talking to the big thing, and I forgot about that.
And that's the thing. Like, everyone was online is saying, like, Zack Snyder's version looks better, and I'm just like, I don't think that. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I just don't like it as much. Like,
that looks like the inside of a piranha's mouth.
That's a good way of putting it. Oh, goodness. Like, he looks like a shark. Man. Yeah, it looks like a hammerhead shark alien. It looks
like King Shark.
Oh my gosh, it does. Like, with a smaller head. I'm just like, why?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, because, like, the one that we have from Whedon, if they gave it, like, more color, like, the comic book Steppenwolf has, like, red and black armor. If they gave it more color, gave him a cape or something, made him look a little more human. Yeah, like, change up his design a little bit. Give it more color, and then he's good. Instead of this Shark Boy knockoff thing. Or whatever. I don't know. Why does... What the fuck? Okay, I'm done looking at it. Let's move on. So, now, are we anything else on Justice League itself? Like, in particular, the theatrical cut?
It sucks.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Okay, so now we're gonna get into the Snyder Cut and some details.
Yes!
So for details, for what's going on, did you know apparently Zack Snyder has not seen Joss Whedon's cut of the movie? Like, he has not actually seen it yet.
God, that makes me hate him more.
But, yeah. I don't know if I can blame him, honestly. Like, would you really want to see that? Because it might, like, have an effect on how you do your movie. But at the same time, you know, you might want to just do it to be a good sport. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. It feels almost pretentious.
Yeah.
It kind of feels pretentious.
Yeah.
I think people forget sometimes that Zack Snyder he was not forced out by Warner Brothers when his daughter died.
Left.
He chose to leave, and I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody should ever have to bury their child, and I feel very bad for the guy. But at the same, oh my god, he can be so pretentious sometimes.
Is he a fan of, like, comics avidly? From what,
I don't think so. And I think there's so many interviews where it seems like his entire is to like burn down this preconceived notion we have of superheroes being like he's gone on record saying like this ain't your mama's Superman.
Oh yeah,
like,
I remember that.
What the fuck does that mean, man? My mother doesn't read comic books, so fuck you. But
and
you don't need to ground everything in realism. Some heroes meant to be better. True. Like Batman, I can understand wanting to take him in a darker, more realistic direction because the man has no superpowers. But Superman is literally the embodiment of hope, and
you don't get that impression like at all from Man of Steel or BVS.
Like we said, the man literally says, "One stays good in this world."
Exactly.
Superman was never real, just the dream of a farmer from Kansas. What the fuck?
God.
Oh, goodness. But so for details, back on details. We already discussed he hasn't seen it. So for the official amount, Zack Snyder will be receiving $30 million additional dollars to like finish the Snyder Cut. So just to be clear, there was no complete Snyder. This is like a whole notion that there was like a hidden Snyder Cut like in the studio. Like no conspiracies, guys. They didn't actually finish it. So now he's gonna actually finish it. He's like, they can't obviously film new scenes because everybody's stuck indoors, but they're going to use the $30 million to finish special effects and like add new ADR lines and stuff. And I mean, it's $30 million, which is where I'm kind of shaky.
Laugh so hard, dude, because like people hate that they had to CGI Henry Cavill. Well, the actors aren't coming back. Yeah. So just wait till we get a CGI everything else.
Oh
like,
god, that's why I'm worried. Are they gonna add new scenes of CGI people? Because like that's gonna just like no.
And I'm worried that Snyder's fans will see it, and I don't expect it to be good. I'm gonna be honest. I don't expect it to be good. I expect it to be on par with BVS or even worse because it's an incomplete movie. But I'm worried Snyder's fans will see it and they'll do what they always do. They'll just fucking go gaga, and they will claim it's like the best thing ever.
True.
And Joss Whedon sucks, and
yeah, that's where I'm worried with this, because like I'm not gonna give my stance on whether or not it's good, because I want to go into this with an open mind, because I believe that Zack has learned from Man of Steel and BVS, so who knows? But still, like I'm worried about the production surrounding it. Like first of all, we have the budget he's getting. $30 million. I mean, if that'll do it, then sure. Just spend
$30
it
million
wisely.
$30 million's a lot, but also not a lot in terms of film. It's like what Deadpool like basically cost that much, right? It was like about that much, which is like insane. It's also because they didn't use like VFX all that much. They used it, but they had it sparingly. Mm-hmm. Given the fact that production and everything is shut down, all of that is just going to go up to brushing up CGI would be fine, but like if you're going to start creating new action set pieces, more characters or whatever, that's really going to add up and it's going to be very expensive. And if you don't kind of distribute it right, then it's not going to look good at all.
True. And
there's no way the actual full movie will be completed. You just can't.
Yeah, because apparently it's like a 4 hour. It's about like 4 hours worth of content for a
What the heck? How?
For his like full Justice League vision. Because apparently it's like two movies in one. And point is like some people, there's like reports that it'll either be like split into like 6 episodes on HBO Max or like just a movie. Either way, it's still like a 4 hour cut. And that's $30 million he's using. And I think that it could work unless this whole, like, since we're all in quarantine, I don't know how it's going to work with, like, actors. Please don't make new CGI scenes.
God.
Point being, we already discussed we brought up Steppenwolf earlier. Like, obviously, he's got a new design based on what we saw in BVS. General Swanwick, as we also brought earlier, is apparently Martian Manhunter. Like, Zack Snyder has confirmed that. And if he goes through with his full vision, we might get that scene in the movie. Who knows? Darkseid would also make an appearance, apparently. And we've actually heard have you heard his voice? Like, apparently at Comic-Con, his voice actor gave a sample of what his Darkseid voice sounds like.
I haven't heard that.
I'll post it. I'll give a link in the description for the video, and I'll also like send you guys it later if I can. But I don't. It sounds like he's gargling something, to be completely honest. Like, I don't know if that's how they like Darkseid in what I've seen in like animated movies and stuff. It sounds like that, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking of. I got Josh Brolin's Thanos voice stuck in my head, so I expect every bad guy to like sound like a raspy old man now.
I'll tell you who does Darkseid well. Justice League Unlimited. There's this 2 like episode arc. I think it's the final arc of the series.
Yeah.
With Darkseid, it's like it's fantastic. That version of is so good. Mm-hmm. That's the episode where Lex Luthor like finds the anti-life equation and like threatens Darkseid with it. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to talk about all this because so many people are excited for it, and you feel like a dick for like saying it won't be as good or saying there's going to be problems with it. But it's like I said, it's like people are going to watch this and they're going to think this is the best movie that has ever existed. Because
that's that's the whole sentiment. Like, if it's bad, then obviously the argument's going to be we literally wasted $30 million and all this fan outcry for nothing. And if it's good, then we'll get to that later.
Well, fuck. I mean, if it's bad,
intent or something.
If it's bad, Lord knows that the fans are just gonna be like, no, show us the real Snyder Cut.
the Snyder Cut.
And then even Zack Snyder.
No. Give him more. Give him more than $30 million or something.
Yeah, he's gonna need even more to perfect this.
It doesn't go on trees, people.
What the heck?
They're not Disney.
Like, and I guess like you want to just move into rumors then and like speculation for this.
I guess I was going to talk about like.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say I am all for creative vision in films. I love when directors are given free rein and are allowed to enact their vision, whether or not I agree with said vision. So obviously it's a shame Zack Snyder's vision was kind of halved with Justice League. I just wish I liked the guy's movies.
True.
Because the guy seems fine. I mean, all the cast members seem to love him, but I just wish they're just not.
Like, I find his like movies to be kind of slow and like more style over substance, to be completely honest. Not like some other directors who are just all about like bombastic style, but still needs a little more to it.
I think this is set. I think the Snyder Cut is also setting a bad precedent.
Oh yeah, so now we can get to the precedent then, like the whole the idea of fan outcry.
Yeah, because we as a film society, how douchey that sounds, that's the term I'm going with. We as a film society have this idea that a director's cut is what will make a bad movie good. People are like, every time I talk to someone, one of my friends, about the Daredevil film, like, Daredevil's my favorite superhero, and every time, God, I hate the Daredevil movie, they go, oh, but have you seen the director's cut? Because that makes it good. I'm like, I have seen the director's cut. Let me tell you what, it's still bad. Same with Green Lantern. Same with fucking, oh God, what's another one? The director's cut. Elektra has one.
Elektra has one? I've not seen.
Oh that. Yeah, they were all the rage back then. They would give them any movie, and people are like, now people are like going crazy. They're like, we want the Spider-Man 3 directors. We want the Ghostbusters from 2016 director's cut.
Oh yeah, Paul Feig, director of Ghostbusters 2016, wants a director's cut now,
and I hated that movie.
It's like 4 hours long, isn't it?
I gotta go ahead and put it out there because I know someone's gonna come for me. I did not hate the movie because it was female Ghostbusters, but it was awful. It was a bad movie.
It was a bad movie.
It was not the right female. You see, the woman. Galactic Flame said it, not me.
That's a contribution here.
But
I now declare for everyone that
what could you add to Ghostbusters from 2016 that would make it a good film? And let me tell you what, if I hear one more fucking word out of David Ayer asking for a director's cut for Suicide Squad, I'm gonna kill myself, man. Like, what could you add to Suicide Squad that would make it good?
Joker,
what did you possibly cut out?
Leto Joker.
I swear to God, if I see one more minute of Jared Leto's Joker, I might blow my brains out. I hated every second of him on screen. I hated it. I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna hurt you. Really. And he didn't lie. That's what he did.
Somehow ended up better in the Skrillex and Rick Ross music video than he did in the actual.
Like in Joker in that stupid music video. Than
you want more Jared Leto Joker?
And fans, I can't believe I'm about to say the term fans of Suicide Squad. Fans of Suicide Squad and fans of Batman vs Superman will scour the comic books and they'll find these like panels and they'll put Jared Leto's Joker back to back with a panel from a comic book and they're like, look, it's accurate. And I'm like, that doesn't make it good. Like, there's this one image they love to use of the Joker, I think All-Star Batman, which is one of the worst Batman stories ever written, where Batman calls Robin a retard. They love to use the Joker from All-Star Batman, I believe, when he's got a dragon tattoo all down his back. That's an awful design! But they're like, it's comic accurate, so it's good.
And, like, on the note of directors, like, for director's cuts, like we said, artistic vision is good, but, not always, it doesn't always work out. And when it comes to the fans, I think that, honestly, I'm going to have the fan side on this one, because, yes, obviously the point is that there's toxicity, and this is a bad precedent, but I'm going to be honest, there are bad apples in, like, every group. Through every fan base, through every community, you'll always have the toxic side that is acting louder than the, like, sane side. So,
unless it's Star Wars.
Unless it's Star Wars. Fan base. But, that's just Star Wars. But, with all these fan bases, I feel that the toxicity should be ignored in favor of a more, like, civil discussion. Because when it comes to film, we have to have a, like, fair relationship. Think of it like any relationship. Sometimes you get what you want. Sometimes the other gets what they want. You gotta compromise. So when it comes to a film like this and what fans want, like, obviously, fans shouldn't just, like, sit back and take whatever the company throws at them and just like it just because they're a fan of it. Like, because if it sucks, it sucks. And you shouldn't just say it's cool because it's an IP you like. But at the same time, you can't just get whatever you want. Like, you're not the one creating this story. Obviously, the creator has the final say at the end of the day. So if they're willing to compromise with you, then they'll do that. If not, then you can spend your money elsewhere. Like, that's my stance on all of it. Because there's two sides of the Snyder Cut fandom. There's the side that, about, like, how there's this whole movement at Comic-Con, how the Snyder Cut fandom, raised money for, like, suicide prevention. And then at the same time, you got people on Twitter who are being mean and calling everyone mean names and stuff. So you gotta have a fair share for both sides.
Yeah, it's like there are people who, and I can recognize that, right? Mm-hmm. There are people who don't like The Last Jedi. But then there are people who are raising hundreds of thousands of dollars to remake The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, there's dislike, and then there's toxicity, and I get that. It's just like, yeah, I've never had... Oh, that's not true. I've had interactions with Snyder stans where I think a few days ago, it's so hard to find them because they are so set that, like, if you don't like it, you suck. Mm-hmm. It's awful.
It's just that... Oh, okay, never mind. I just saw Triple M upload the pictures of Joker.
Yeah, I just said, oh, it's good. It's comic accurate.
Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
Good.
Oh my God.
Okay. Back
and I
to...
was right. That is from All-Star Batman and Robin. First written Batman
gracious.
story to ever exist. Don't read it. Don't check it out. Bury it.
Okay. Back on track. As you were saying, Triple M.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, the toxicity and negativity are two different things. You know, you can dislike something without being a total ass about it. Anyway, I'll let you continue to talk. That was the end of my thoughts. It ended with Joker Dragon Tattoo.
So I think that if anything, like, we just have to see I want to see how it plays out because this kind of sets more for the future of the DCEU *
not official name.
Whatever the hell it's called.
the DC cinematic masterful universe, blah blah blah.
Woo!
The Snyderverse.
The Snyderverse.
The Snyderverse.
Roll credits.
What is this? Some kind of Snyderverse? Roll credits.
What are we? Some kind of Justice League? What are we? Some kind of League of Justice?
So I think this will set a good precedent for the future. Like, because I'm assuming the Snyder Cut is that going to be like the new canon version, as compared to the theatrical one. Like, is Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition the canon one now?
I don't.
Like, that's where I'm confused. Because assuming that BVS Ultimate Edition is canon, then the Steppenwolf we saw in that movie looks nothing like the Steppenwolf we saw in the theatrical edition of Justice League.
He got a makeover. He got a haircut.
I guess it's just like we just ignore it, kind of like we ignore like when actors get recast, like Hulk or War Machine. We just go with it, I guess. Yeah. Okay, sure.
Because movies are movies, and if you get too in depth with the universe, then,
true, then things get weird.
Then you become a 12-year-old who not a 12, like a 5-year-old who genuinely thinks Captain America is a real person out there.
Exactly. So
God bless those kids.
With the theatrical cut, or with the Snyder Cut, like if this is canon, it could set a new outline for the future. Like Henry Cavill is apparently at least in talks to come back as Superman. Ben Affleck as Batman is not the same case. Like I guess he's still fired. I have to look that up.
I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm happy for him because the whole toxicity. You know, because I don't know if y'all know what drove him to alcoholism.
Oh,
but like, Ben Affleck is a serious director. He's a serious writer, and a lot of comic book actors have this problem where once you become Iron Man, you become Captain America,
that's all you're ever gonna be.
It doesn't matter how serious you get. So Ben Affleck was directing and writing movies at the time, and like making movies, and every interviewer would always ask him about Batman, and you can I know we made memes out of it, but you can watch his face in those interviews. He just looks
so sad.
He just looks so sad. He's like, can we talk about my movie, please? I've worked 13 years on this. And they're like, okay, but tell us about Batman, though.
It's like Harrison Ford, Han Solo all over again. But yeah.
And Alec Guinness and Obi-Wan. It's like, I'm kind of hoping Ben Affleck doesn't come back, because once you get dragged back into it, like, once you sign that contract,
they ain't gonna let you go.
And I am quite excited for Matt Reeves' Batman, just because I love Robert Pattinson and I love the way the Batsuit looks. And I don't know. I think I don't understand people when they say that their favorite version of Batman on screen is Ben Affleck, because I'm like, where'd the love for Christian Bale go?
Exactly.
I thought we all agreed that Christian Bale was the best Batman because his movies are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
So with the future, like now the DCEU seems to be back on, at least like for now, because remember everyone was saying it was officially canceled. DC was just going to do whatever now, but now it seems back on. Like movies like Flash and what else? Aquaman 2 have official release dates, or at least are in the works. So yeah, I guess we're getting a Flash movie again. We're getting a Aquaman 2, Shazam, Cyborg. Black Adam, Cyborg, Man of Steel sequel is in the talks. So not
only is there a Green Lantern movie being made, but there's also a HBO Max original TV show being produced.
Ooh, okay.
And even though I dislike the DCEU, Worlds of DC, whatever you want to call it, I haven't seen Green Lantern get some love in ever. So I need to get some good Green Lantern. Personally, I want Armie Hammer to play him, but that's just me.
Yeah, so I just hope, if this is their plan, that the Snyder Cut will be the make or break moment, probably. I just hope they know what they're doing, honestly. And I think that, if like what I've been told is true, they might not. Because now we're going to get into, these aren't really spoilers, these are rumors, even though they come from some quote-unquote reputable sources, like, so, because some people have already seen Zack Snyder's outline for the Justice League trilogy, or parts 1 through 3. Apparently, it was gonna be 3 parts. His big master plan, and like I consider this to be phase 1 of the Snyderverse, and it sounds interesting.
My God.
So apparently, Batman's nightmare, dream, vision, whatever you want to call it,
is actually like a premonition, and that's what the future of Justice League was going to be about. Like, Darkseid would take over the world, Superman would be evil, and they'd have to go back in time with Flash to prevent all that. We've already discussed how Superman turning evil out of nowhere just feels like, really? Like, just because of Lois?
Yeah.
A story like that could work depending on how the villains work. If Darkseid is anything like Steppenwolf, then I don't think I would have liked it nearly as much. Unless he screamed balls a couple of times, I don't know.
Balls!
Yeah, so depending on how all that would go, it would make or break the DCU, because I don't want them to be like Marvel. I want them to be their own thing. So if they're willing to get weird, if they want to make a crazy time travel story with Darkseid and evil Superman, go for it. Cause,
I just want more. I want more like. Okay. Obviously, not everything has to be lighthearted and fun all the time.
Yeah.
But I really like the vibe of Shazam and, deep breath, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
Yeah, like, don't be afraid to have some fun with those
movies.
It doesn't have to all be one thing, because, like, even Marvel likes to, like, branch out now. Like, you got Guardians of the Galaxy is all whack and all fun and all emotion. Then you got something like the Avengers, which gets more serious, even if it has comedic banter. So don't be afraid to, like, step out of the box, change things up. Snyder Cut, maybe we'll have some comedy that's actually funny. Please don't make Flash like he is at all in Theatrical Cut.
I want brunch. I want the brunch cut.
The brunch cut. Release the brunch cut. Yeah, and anything else major we should need to discuss, I guess, regarding this?
Oh, I think that covers it.
I mean, yeah, that's about it. Oh yeah, one more thing. Make Superman nicer, obviously.
Yeah, and, Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can't remember the last time he smiled where it wasn't fake.
He was raised on Earth as a human. He wasn't like
treat him like a
godlike powers, but he wasn't raised as one. So
yeah. I just found it, and last thing, I guess, I just find it interesting how DC, before the Snyder Cut was announced, how weird their placement of the universe was, because they were still technically making movies in the universe. Birds of Prey is set after Suicide Squad, even though they announced that they're rebooting Suicide Squad with half of the cast. So,
okay, but dude, that movie looks good as hell, bruh. Like, the leaked set photos is great. We got arm fall off boy in a DC movie, like Matter Eater lad. I am excited for James Gunn's.
So I honestly hope they can pull movies like that off. Then you've got like movies like Shazam where they couldn't even show Superman because we're not even sure who's playing him anymore. But hopefully they figure this all out. Because it never gets off to a good start. Marvel did not start off 100% with the MCU. A lot of people hate the early movies, but look where we are now. So maybe they just had a rocky start. DC can pick itself up and make better movies with coherent visions. Yeah. So, DC, lesson is to listen to your creators, listen to the fans. You don't have to pander, but have a stable relationship.
Yeah.
Keep taking more risks.
Yes. So, I think that wraps it up. # release the air cut. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
No. Hey, okay. Before I go, I have to say, balls!
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, and he's gone.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Ooh.
Bye, everyone.